So instead, what we're going to have is like 5 minutes of random small talk with the intention of not trying to say anything clever, just in case it stopped recording.
Yeah, that's about it. But I wouldn't worry about us risking saying something clever.
Hello, and welcome to the 5th episode of Couch Co-op. I'm Drew from Damage Control. With me, as always, is my good friend Chris, and we're going to talk about the Nintendo Switch announcement, which happened the day we recorded this. Now, given the great distance between Chris and I these days, we literally phoned this one in, so the audio quality might not be quite so top-notch. Nevertheless, let's get started.
The biggest order of business would be the NX is now the Nintendo Switch.
Oh, yeah, they baited us with this NX nonsense.
And then gave us the Switch?
Yeah. Yeah.
I want to say you planned that.
You know me better than that.
All right. So, first impressions, what do you think?
Well, first impression is that I like what it's got going. I mean, I've got some concerns because, I can't have nice things. All of the rumors thus far have been dead on. It's the console handheld hybrid. It's got the detachable controllers, and I'm hoping that means that we're going to eventually get, some funky random controllers to use in the place for particular games.
Well, it already looks like it includes compatibility with, if not the Wii U's Pro controller, something that looks reasonably identical to it.
Yes, it would be silly if it wasn't set up to work with the Wii and the Wii U Super Pro controllers there, because that should not be an interoperability issue at all.
It's the new Super Wii U Galaxy Edition Pro Controller 2.
Now the 2. Wow.
Yeah, well...
I only have the 1.
Yeah, well, you need to upgrade. Fortunately, it only takes 2 USB spots and the headphone jack in order to make it work with the Switch. But I thought I would also mention that the Nintendo Switch does, in fact, include a headphone jack, so it is not following Apple that far off the cliff.
That is so uncourageous.
Right.
So did you actually see the spec sheet that Nintendo released? Because it does have a wonderful little comment about that.
I have not. I just watched the basic trailer that came out at 10 this morning. I watched it on Twitter, of all places, and that's all that I've seen of it. I figured I would go back through, because I'm sure I just need to give Game Explain and other places, IGN, time to absorb all the information and give me a better rundown than I can do myself by just surfing on my iPhone.
It's true. So I'll spoil this for you then. So one of the tech sheets where it indicates where the headphone jack is, there is this footnote in parentheses under it that says, "Save the courage for Link."
Oh! That's clever. I like it.
Yes. I love it too.
Are they saving the power for Sony?
Well, no, because then Microsoft would have the wisdom, and that just doesn't make any sense.
No, well, yeah, that's true. But no, wait, Nintendo can claim the wisdom. I mean, they have named all of their Link games Zelda, so clearly they fall in line with the wisdom and not the courage.
Yeah, just like we played Mario in Super Princess Peach, right?
Yes, that is not correct at all. You actually play a female lead that gets ahead in the game by crying and throwing stitches in. Definitely the game for girls that we've all been waiting for. The rumors and the mock-ups that people have come up with for what they expected the NX to be do seem very much to be what the Switch is. I noticed the game cards look very similar to the 3DS game cards. For what little bit that I saw, it looked like he was pushing it in through the top, and it seemed to have the same feedback with a little audible click that you get when you press in the carts into the 3DS. The fact that it looks like that it's just a solid tablet, like an iPad, or obviously the screen size is different, but it's just a physical tablet with no excessive waste that isn't screen around the edges until you click on or slide on the equal and opposite controllers. Now, I think they did a good job, even though I don't like the C-stick on bottom, having it so that the curve, when you turn them sideways, it makes it so the stick is on the left side and the 4 buttons are on the right, which is, to me, a bigger deal when you're playing a 2-player game where you have to switch it off. I think they did a good job of making it like 2 Super Nintendo controllers attached to the side of a tablet.
Yeah, worst comes to worst, you just use the Pro controller, which has a more traditional layout and a proper D-pad.
I also, and I guess I didn't really get a good look at it, and I'm sure they'll show other angles of the device, but the analog stick seemed a little bit bulkier than I was expecting. I was honestly expecting more of, like, the disc slider that's on the DS. Or the 3DS, rather.
Ars Technica did a little spatial analysis thing on the controllers in comparison to the screen, and if the sticks are, the same size as the ones found on the PlayStation and on the Wii U controller, that puts the two little, I haven't seen the weird ass name Nintendo has for the controller enough times to be able to recite it yet, but it makes them each almost exactly the size of an NES controller.
They did look about that size.
Which in turn scales favorably to a 7-inch screen.
Right.
So one thing that people need to get used to right now is that there is going to be zero backwards compatibility with this system, even with, digital games from the Wii and the Wii U's library, because it's a completely different processor architecture.
I think most people were already expecting that, because I think everybody, as soon as they saw the lower screen on the Wii U was no longer, for Zelda Wild Wild West, is no longer utilizing the gamepad screen, they realized that it was going to be a one-screen only thing, and the game, in order to be on both systems, they sacrificed the Wii U version's lower screen. So I have a feeling like, even if, and again, I know really nothing about the architecture of systems, but it seems to me that they would still be able to do certain things, but only if they can be done on one screen. That doesn't mean that they'd be backwards compatible, of course. That means that they could be remade, like maybe making a Skyward Sword that doesn't use motion controls, or maybe if they already have games that are HD remakes, that didn't utilize 2 screens or didn't utilize, the extra functions of the Wii U, they could be easily ported to the Switch. Definitely, this also shows why the 3DS still has a vibrant library ahead of it, because you're clearly not replacing the 3DS. The 3DS is still going to be alive and well, and will be playing very different games than the Switch, because you still have use of both screens. The fact that it's 3D is mostly novelty, outside of a couple of puzzles here and there, which again are novelty.
Another thing of note that's going to make a big difference with how games are played between generations is that there was no indication anywhere in the video or in Nintendo's pressers that the screen is a touch screen.
I can't imagine it not being a touchscreen. That seems absurd to me. Absolutely absurd. Maybe it won't be finger touch, but it would have to at least be stylus. If it's not stylus, it would have to maybe like an iPhone where you need the electro stylus, the ones that responds to finger touch or specialty stylus. Not having a touch screen is a huge leap backwards.
Well, there's no indication of there's no stylus in any of the photographs that they've put out.
Gosh, I don't know. That would be extremely disappointing. Because
it would save some money, not a lot of money, but you could use cheaper screens.
The amount of money they'd save per unit, to me, would be negligible compared to the amount of use you'd get out of a touch screen. I mean, just being able to navigate menus faster, being able to, Super Mario Maker was huge. You can still do all that with one screen, but you need to have a touch screen.
Oh, absolutely. Most of my Super Mario Maker playing, I just do. I just pick up the pad. I don't even turn on the TV. I just go at it.
Well, yeah,
the only thing that I can't do that way is read notes and not have it cover up the gameplay. Because normally they'd render notes on one screen and leave the other unmolested, so you can read and play at your volition. So here's another possible fly in the ointment, because I just have to ruin things. So one of the reasons that the Virtual Console on all the other systems has been so backwards is, Nintendo's been very deliberate about making it as difficult as possible, because they don't want someone to, they're very, very, very concerned with emulation, and they want to make sure that nobody can take a Virtual Console thing, put it on the SD card, move it to their computer, and be able to reverse engineer a ROM. And with the architecture we've got going here, the NVIDIA Tegra is an ARM-based architecture. It's the kind of thing that Android runs on, which is very well known for its emulators.
Right.
There is a possibility that because of how Nintendo is very much so against doing anything with emulation or enabling emulation, or despises its existence with a fiery passion of 1,000 suns, they might just skip the Virtual Console, worried that it would be easier than ever to move the files to compatible hardware.
I haven't seen the card itself, but I can't imagine they're using a standardized SD card.
Well, the game slot and the SD card are very different things, even on the 3DS.
Right.
The Wii and the Wii U both used SD cards for digital storage.
Okay.
For downloaded content and stuff.
But the Wii U has SD cards, and it has, I just don't understand what the difference would be.
The difference is the Tegra. Because you could, when you're making something for the Wii U, it's using processor machine instruction sets that are completely different from what a PC would use, from what a smartphone would use. So,
right.
Recoding, not having it just be a ROM interpreted by a program on the Wii U, it's something that's recoded to run natively on the Wii U. That's something that you can't reverse engineer.
Oh, okay.
But coded to run natively on the Tegra is, it's a much smaller leap to make it run natively on Android.
Well, supposedly.
Nintendo's going to have to really double down on its obfuscation of Virtual Console titles, which will only mean fewer of them will come out. Or they're just, they're not going to do it at all, or they're just going to have to relax and accept the risk.
I don't know, it seems to me like the Switch is really, I don't want to say it's their last-ditch effort, but if they don't make this as user-friendly and as open for as many people as possible to get on board, this could be it for them for consoles. Right now, they're going to have to win people over that didn't jump on the Wii U train. They need to get all the Super Nintendo people, the N64 people, the GameCube group is pretty small, but all that, the Wii group, there's a lot of people that they're going to need to buy into this system. Without a virtual console, that's going to be pretty difficult. Without a touch screen, that's going to be very difficult. I can't imagine them having limited virtual console, no touch screen, and moving forward. Because two of the things that makes the Wii U so great, and what will keep me having I'm not going to sell or trade in my Wii U, is its virtual console and the games that I can play that utilizes the touch screen. Right now, the Wii U is probably the best console I've ever had because I can play a great selection of all the old games that I love, plus almost every Zelda game is available on the Wii U. All that nostalgia is what gives the Wii U all the extra value when you realize you only have 5 to 10 knockout games that came out exclusive for the Wii U. So all that added stuff is really what Nintendo has to bank on. I mean, Nintendo is who they were. It's not about who they are. And they need to push that.
And one of the things that I will say very positively is of the 6 games we did see in the advertisement, some of them look like they could have been ports, and we know that there are going to be a few games that are ported from the Wii U to Switch. First and foremost, of course, being the new Zelda and Smash Brothers, both of which they came out and said this is a thing that's happening. And
right.
While Smash Brothers wasn't shown, there were a few other games in the lineup that looked like they could be ports, the Splatoon game and the Mario Kart game. But people have very carefully dissected their appearance, and it looks like that, no, these are not just, if these are ports, they're not just, weren't given a facelift, but they were given a lift in the gameplay as well, or they're entirely new iterations.
They're new, it's definitely a new Mario Kart, because it shows, and this is one of the small things that I did see, and I probably saw it on Twitter, it might have been Facebook, but I saw a close-up of the screenshot of the split screen, and it had 2 item slots. The current Mario Kart 8, only has 1 item. This has the double dash is 2 item, but it was single carts, double item slot. So it's a new game. And of course, I haven't really played any of the newer Mario games. I didn't play any of the ones for the Wii U. And I didn't play Galaxy or Galaxy 2. But I think I heard somebody, or didn't hear, but I think I saw a comment about that being a new Mario game, that it was not a screenshot from an existing Mario game.
I can confirm that as well. I've never seen that area in any of the other 3D Marios.
So that looks promising. A new 3D Mario game, a new Mario Kart, and Zelda. I mean, it's obviously going to be a system that the two of us buy, but will it be a system that 5 million people buy, 10 million people buy, or 800,000 people buy? Is it going to be just for the extreme Nintendo guys like us? Or will it become an actual popular system? Did it mention anything about a price point?
Oh, no, nothing about a price point yet. Nothing about how much support is coming from the third parties. We only know of 2 games so far.
I saw, it was a picture, and it had probably 40 different logos on one picture of all the third parties that are supporting it. It was part of the initial advertisement.
Yes, but there's a couple of asterisks on that one. First one, those logos include Konami. So unless they're porting their pachinko machine software over, that's not something we're going to be expecting great things from. And another part is that some of the logos weren't game development companies, but, technology like, game development architectures, such as, Unreal Engine 3 or what for.
Right. So, we'll see. But, again, the Wii U, if you only take into account just the first-party stuff, again, the system didn't sell very well, but the system is great for its first-party games. So I think we'll get a lot of enjoyment out of it. I think we'll have a lot of fun. But if other people aren't buying it, it could be the end for Nintendo as a hardware company.
That being said, they've lived through people saying that before, but, the chances get higher each and every time they try and fail.
Right. And they have tried pretty hard.
Still, I'm definitely looking forward to learning more about the Switch. There's still a lot of information to go over between now and launch, but since that's only 5 months, I expect that it will be coming in short order, things like pricing, what the launch lineup's going to be, because it would be silly if they showcased games that weren't going to be launch titles, but, they've done weirder
totally
things
do
before.
Andrew. They would totally do that.
And one of the things I'm also looking forward to is really getting into the tech spec to see how, not so much how it compares to the PlayStation 4, the Xbox One, and then the Pro and the Scorpio. But I'm much more interested to see how much, if it actually is a generational leap beyond the Wii U, and if there are, if that's enabled them to do things in the games that are ports that will, help them be distinct, be better. What is the case for Zelda on the Switch rather than the Wii U? What is the case for Smash Brothers? Especially Smash Brothers, because I might, actually buy that one again, because I'm a sucker, if the Switch is powerful enough to get the Ice Climbers back, because I played a lot of Ice Climbers before Smash 4.
Well, I'll tell you, the one major thing, if nothing else is improved, having the processor be inside the tablet will get rid of 90% of the problems that I have with the Wii U. The slight delays, the slight glitches that happens when you're playing off screen because you are playing wirelessly from the Wii U, that makes all the difference. Especially if you're playing old school Twitch games where the slightest, jump, pixel perfect jump, and all of a sudden the screen moves on me because it's trying to play catch up. I had a lot of issues with Xenoblade Chronicles X, where the Wii U pad, just couldn't keep up with the system. So just having the processor in the same unit as the screen, I think is going to be enough of an improvement for me to prefer playing the Switch version of Zelda.
And I will definitely be looking through the third-party launch lineup and what other titles are released that are announced that aren't launch titles with great interest. Because
Dragon Legend is on its way.
Because of the Tegra architecture. Because one of the things that I wrote in an earlier damage control article was that one of the things Nintendo really needed to do with their new system is to give it a 386 architecture, to make it child's play to port third-party titles from the PlayStation 4 and the Xbox One. Using an ARM-based processor, easier than something custom because all of the game development companies most of the big ones anyway, do have experience working on the Android platform, working with ARM processors, but that's still not a very clean porting process if they were all just 386 based.
Okay. I'll take your word for it, because I really don't understand any of that.
Well, we bring different knowledge to the table, so that's why it works to have both of us yammering on.
That's true. So, less than a month from the NES Classic, whatever it's called, Mini, the NES Classic Mini. Are you still lukewarm to cold on that, or do you warm up?
No, I think it's a great idea. It just isn't for me.
Right. Yeah.
And it also kind of makes me worried about the future of the Virtual Console. I wonder if this is coming out because Nintendo's lukewarm about doing Virtual Console on the Switch.
Yeah, I understand what you're saying about that. I hope that's not the case. It seems to me like this is just we're sorry we made the Wii U so unattractive and we have nothing to show for it this holiday season, so here's this tiny NES. Please stand by till the Switch comes out. That's what I'm hoping it is. Just let's put this out here. You know, let's shut the curtain, regroup, and put this guy who can juggle and tell jokes out on the stage in front of the curtain while we're trying to fix all the backdrops.
Do you know Minnie the Moocher? The song Minnie the Moocher. Yeah, no, I think that it's also a good way to diversify Nintendo's product lineup, which is something that they were really looking into doing this past year or two, and some of that has come out way back. If you want to go back to Amiibo, that's something. Like Nintendo News, Amiibo News, those people are postulating that the reason we haven't seen the Cloud, Bayonetta, and Corrin Amiibo yet is because they're saving them for the launch of Smash Brothers on the Switch. Yeah, I think that makes a lot of sense, because I think putting them out now a year afterward, things are a little kind of lukewarm on the Smash Brothers line. But,
Plus, Andrew, when Final Fantasy VII's remake comes out on the Switch, it'll drop with the Amiibo.
Yes, but, the Switch might go through the whole generation before the Final Fantasy VII remake comes out, because it's going through a Final Fantasy versus 13-like development hell right now.
Really? It doesn't seem like it should be that hard.
No, well, they really are rebuilding the whole thing from the ground up with this isn't just like an upscale. This is like new models.
It has to be. The original game, let's be honest, is shit. I mean, it if you try to go back to playing it, I mean, 4, 5, and 6 hold up, but 7 is just so hard to play, and everything about it. I mean, it's blocky. It's crap. It's a great story. It'll be great to redo it.
It'll be an even better story when it's like more comprehensively translated.
All right. So what else is like now playing? Or did you ever play Metroid Zero Mission?
Yes.
I find that every time I found a cool little secret, it turned out to be a secret to nowhere with no purpose. I found dozens of secrets that led to nowhere for no purpose. I found places where I can screw attack to get to the other side to find an alternative path through a place. There's no stoppage. I can just walk through the door, or I can screw attack up and go through and rollerball to the other side of the door. At no point is that door ever impassable, and at no point do I ever need to take that special shortcut. I'm just able to access it. I also found that maybe it's the controls. I don't know, being on the Wii U Virtual Console, but when you're charging up your speed run ability, whatever that's called, which you'd think they'd be able to like there'd be a power-up to make that happen faster, or happen from a dead stop. But you're running, now you're going to the full speed. There's no way to hang on to it. I kept on looking up, and there's nothing in the game that suggests that you should be able to, like, jump and turn into a ball and do all these other things with it. The game doesn't give you any of that. I go into some FAQs, and it says, well, hold down, and then turn into a ball, and then roll through. It's like, do you have to have a black belt in thumbology to make that happen? Like, I can do moves.
No. Once you've got the charge ready to go, you don't have to go all the way to the ball if you don't want to go to the ball. Just simply tapping down into a crouch will let you store it, but it dissipates in seconds, so you have to get in position you want to be in and then use it very quickly. The name for it is the Shine Spark. It's not the name of the thing that makes you go fast. It's the name of you launching yourself once you have the speed boost.
Which, by the way, does that even tell you about that in the game at all?
Yeah, it expects you to remember Super Metroid for some reason.
I've never played Super Metroid. Ever. I don't know anything about Super Metroid. Metroid Zero Mission should not expect you to know what the sequel's going to be like.
Yeah, Super Metroid actually teaches you how to use it if you end up in certain places.
Right,
kind of like
but I never played it.
How there are, so, sorry, that's
the entire point is
all in the mythology.
Is for me to play Zero Mission first because it's a prequel. Well, it's a prequel to Super Metroid by being a remake of the original Metroid. So, if you're trying to play them from the beginning, and you want to just, play Zero Mission first, you'd think at some point in the game of Zero Mission, they'd let you know how to do the things that you need to know how to do. It was because I looked on an FAQ that I learned that I could do a super jump. Not that I ever had use for a super jump, because I actually think that the layout of the map is kind of, I know they're making it off of the original, but it seems kind of stupid. Like every time I got...
Well, the reason they have all of those little extra secrets, though, it's not to find things. It's actually because Zero Mission was the first Metroid designed from the ground up to be speedrun. So all of those little alternates to nowhere are all supposed to be useful for incorporating various strats at different times in the game when perhaps you're not supposed to be there.
Well, I'll tell you, they may have optimized it for speedruns, but it was whatever the opposite of optimized is for people who wanted to be introduced to the series. Because I've never played the original or Super Metroid.
You totally need to play Super Metroid when you have the opportunity.
It's next on the list. I wanted to play this one first. It's called an order of operations. I know it sounds silly, but I thought maybe I'd play Zero Mission first. For story purposes, because that's what Metroid's all about. The amazing story. It's like Castlevania, because I care about this particular resurrection of Dracula.
Exactly. I'm glad somebody gets it.
The game was also mostly very easy. Of course, I played on easy because I just wanted to play through the game for fun. I didn't want to challenge myself. I just wanted to play through. And of course, the game was as easy as one would expect. But I found like there were certain parts where I was confused, and then it seems like it shouldn't have been confusing because there should have been some sort of hint. And I think they just didn't design the game for new people. They designed the game for people who already knew what to expect. And I consider that a design flaw.
And it's rather unfortunate that exists because Nintendo is normally like the master at crafting an experience that just, without a tutorial, just guides you through. I mean, down to like, the most classic example being, that very first screen in 1-1 of Mario, which the way it's put together makes you do things.
Yep. No, they are very good at it, and it was a fun game, and most of the stuff I could figure out as I go, and it did explain a lot of things. They just failed at a couple of small details. Moreover, they put a lot of secrets that I don't think I have the skill to get. Like, there's a lot of, like, I know the tank is there. I know I need to have the run charge ability. I cannot, it's like doing, finishing moves in Mortal Kombat. Like, I know what buttons I need to press, I just can't do it. And everything else in the entire game is super easy. The whole game is easy, except getting these last couple of, trying to 100% the game, getting these last couple of missile containers or E-containers or whatever they're called. It's like you have to charge 2 screens away, run through, press down, double touch down somehow so that you get into ball form, roll in a ball through a couple of screens. It's like, what? Okay, so I get you were trying to add some expert stuff for like the professional speedrunners and the people who can count pixels as they go, but you made it so that any Tom, Dick, and Harry can get through the game and get like 60%, but then you put these obvious things out there where us Tom, Dick, and Harrys playing the game are going to get uber frustrated because we can't get there, and we can't, like, 90% of the game is a gradual slope, and then all of a sudden it's cliffhanger.
Oh, the problem is, how do they put, like, optional advanced challenges in the game, that otherwise would go to nowhere? Do you want, like, all of those sections to not have a payoff at the end?
No, I want those optional things, like, I can see where I need to go and what I need to do, I just can't do it. And everything else in the game is super easy. They designed the game with the idea of experts, but they didn't have like an expert mode or an unlock an area that's for experts. It's part of the regular game. So like, let's say you're going through Ocarina of Time. I consider Ocarina of Time to be the pinnacle of there's enough extra stuff which is just difficult enough where you can get everything without it ruining the main experience. I think both the Super Nintendo and the N64 era nailed those perfectly. I feel like this game was too easy for most of the stuff, and then the other stuff, it seems like it's not that it's difficult, but again, for speedrunners, it has to be done pixel perfect. It's not that I couldn't figure it out. It's not that it's a difficult, awkward jump. It's nearly impossible. I'm a pretty skilled gamer. This is Metroid Zero Mission. This isn't, it's not Super Meat Boy. It's Metroid. And it's Metroid Zero Mission, and it's easy for most of it. It doesn't let you know how to do it. I don't know, to me, it's unbalanced. And that's very frustrating when I'm going through and trying to play some older games and just 100%ing them. Ocarina of Time, getting all 100 gold sculptulas. A little bit of work, but when you see the gold sculptula, you can look around, figure out what you need to do, and maybe you'll fail a couple of times, but eventually you'll be able to accomplish it. I physically don't think I have the thumb fidelity to do half the things that I need to, like, I only have, like, 65% of the secrets, because I physically can't get the other ones. That's
let me tell you something, Chris. I managed to pull off 100% in Zero Mission, and if I can do it, by God, you can.
Well, that's why
I am all thumbs.
Well, then maybe it's the Wii U controller, because I'm doing something
that
wrong.
Input lag could be really screwing you on some of these more precise actions.
And that of course brings me back to my issue with Metroid Zero Mission was one of the biggest issues I've had. Because Mario's not quite as high fidelity, I was able to get through that with less of a problem with having the processor of the Switch in the system that you're holding. I'm trying to do stuff, and I physically can't. And maybe that's the issue. Maybe the issue is the input. Because there's a spot where you need to run 2 screens and turn into a morph ball and use the morph ball to scroll through 2 more screens to get to something. There's a few spots like that where you need to have that charge power. You need to hold on to that charge power for a while and do some crazy crap with it.
I'll tell you a few things about the charge power that the game is not helpful enough to point out at this time. That might give you a few extra ideas here, is that you can use it multiple times in a row if you super jump into a ramp and then hit down again. And then the timer starts over on how long you can store the charge, because it's a new charge. Likewise, if you don't push down, then you'll just be running like you were before the super jump. And then you can, hit down to store your charge later at some other screen.
I would have to see all of that in action, because that's way too confusing.
Now, if you want a great demonstration of all of the different little things that can be done to chain Shine Sparks together, I would suggest going to YouTube and actually looking at a video of this crazy thing you can do in Metroid Fusion. Just look up on YouTube, it's called Metroid Fusion Shine Spark Trick.
So does it work 100% identical in Zero Mission? Because I played Fusion.
Yeah, it's the same control. The only game where it's different that it exists in is Super Metroid, but that's because the Super Nintendo controller had more buttons, so they dedicated one to running.
Oh, yeah. Well, maybe I'll check that out. See you later.
See ya.
Bye.